Licensing Commission meeting for November 12th?
Or December.
I'm sorry, December 12th, 2024. That's a great start. Anyway, welcome everybody. If you'll join me please in this, we open all the meetings to the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. I'm going to read the notice of appeal for appeal of decisions from the Metropolitan Transportation Licensing Commission. Pursuant to provisions of Section 2.68.030 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, notice is hereby given that if you are not satisfied with a decision made by the Metropolitan Transportation Licensing Commission, you may appeal the decision by petitioning for a writ of certiorari with the Davidson County Chancery or Circuit Court. Your appeal must be filed within 60 days of the date of entry of the Metropolitan Transportation Licensing Commission's decision. We advise that you seek your own independent legal advice to ensure that your appeal is filed in a timely manner and that all procedural requirements have been met. Mr. Rooker, I do not see anything about anyone wanting to have public.
Yes, sir. We do have a sheet out front. We apologize.
Okay.
For not having that available to you.
The public comment period. Okay.
Here we go.
Oh. All right, there are two names on here today. I want to remind Mr. King and Mr. Alley, or Miss Alley, that that public comment is to address something that's on our agenda today. And if you're giving testimony regarding one of the other matters on the agenda, then we will wait to hear you at that point. So the first name I have, oh, and also it's limited to 2 minutes, please. Denny King?
I'm just here to, on the agenda for
All right. So we'll wait and hear from you when I put you under oath during the hearing, okay? And then I think it's Karan Ali. All right. Well, if Mr. Ali shows up later, we may consider him being able to speak. All right. Has everyone had an opportunity to review the minutes from our previous meeting in November?
Yes, Chair.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from the previous meeting?
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Mr. Rooker, next on our agenda today is the consent items, and there's a number of them on there. You want to take the first one, please, about general wrecker and towing services?
Yes, Mr. Chair. These are two new companies, Dad's Towing Service of Springfield and Cisco Towing Services. They're both applying as general record companies. All their paperwork is in order, application is good, and staff would recommend approval.
We have a Dad's Towing in Nashville.
Yes, sir. This is a new location that's opening in Springfield, and they see themselves coming into Davidson County more than 5 times a month, so that's why they have applied for a permit.
And there's no concern about the repetitive nature of the name Dad's?
No, sir.
Okay.
No, sir.
All right. Does anybody have any questions?
And that's my name.
Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Yeah, and I used to be called Dad. All right. If there's no questions or discussion, is there a motion to approve the consent item on the general record towing services for Dad's Towing and Cisco Towing Services?
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, Mr. Rooker, other passenger vehicles for hire, new company applications.
Yes, sir. We have 6 new companies that have applied. Their applications are in order, and we can read the names into the minutes if you so choose. Staff recommends approval. Their paperwork is in order. Just as a side note for the commission to know, not only these are Uber, Lyft is now going to start making their Lyft Black vehicles register with the TLC. So they have made that step also. We got an email, I think on December the 2nd, from one of the Lyft drivers that said they would be required to come to permit with the TLC. So both companies are now doing that.
Okay. Do any of the commissioners have any questions or comments regarding the OPVH application, the new company applications? Is there a motion to approve?
Move approval.
And would you mind reading the names of the companies?
Approval of Dad's Towing Services, Springfield, Tennessee, and Cisco Towing Services.
No, we're down below it.
OPVH. Turn your mic on. Turn your mic on, too.
Move approval for the other passenger vehicles for hire, new company applications, Bambino's Transportation LLC, Black Car Limo LLC, Douse Transportation LLC, J&E Private Drivers, TN Transportation Services LLC, ZL VIP LLC.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Quick discussion.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Quick discussion. Curious for staff, just, given the Kings and Breedlove, that's coming up a little later. I did, and this is what distracted me, from reading appropriately, the OPVH. I went onto the Secretary of State's website to look for Breedlove. They don't exist as an LLC in the state of Tennessee. Kings doesn't exist for the state, in the state of Tennessee as an LLC. Do all these LLCs exist? You've verified that they're actually in existence and it's an actual LLC?
We'll have to check with staff.
Could be a Davidson County business license, but yes, we verify all companies.
Well, but it would not be a limited liability corporation is not the same as a Davidson County business license. So if they're stating that they're like Bambino's Transportation, I can look, but Bambinos, Bambino's, when you go through the business information search through the Secretary of State, doesn't exist as an LLC.
I'm looking behind me, but staff does,
Business license.
we do check for business
Show 'em
licenses, yes.
business license.
I'm looking at so if you're a limited liability corporation, a subchapter S, a C Corp, authorized to do business in the state of Tennessee, you would register with the state your company. So when I looked, and I started with Breedlove, when their Facebook page was down, I wanted to see who they were, no Facebook information. And then just for curiosity, looked at Kings, they didn't exist. I don't know what the business license doesn't offer you the same protections as a limited liability corporation. So like, if we're thinking about, we're approving an OVPH operator, how are they insured? How are they established as a business? So you have
You
that?
found them.
You found which one? Bambino's?
Bambino's Transportation LLC.
Awesome. BAM.
BINO. Are you looking on if you go to the main page of the Secretary of
Yep.
State and then you click on business information search?
Yep.
And I just searched for Bambino.
That's what he attempted to do.
That's what I attempted to do.
It's at the very bottom of the list on mine, one of 9.
Starts with business information search? But y'all have done that.
I just did that. Yeah, and I searched the name Bambino, Bambino.
You put S.
Yep, I put an S at the end, which they have an S there.
And if mine came up with one of 9 with the company name of Bambino, and at the bottom is Bambino's Transportation LLC, and it's listed as active as of November 4th, 2022.
Bambino's LLC, Bambino's. Okay, Bambino's yep, active. Cool. So I misspelled it when I typed it, but I don't think I misspelled Breedlove or.
So that sometimes this search is tricky, and it's I do like the least terms as possible to find them.
So these all exist, great, thank you. That was,
All right, there's been a motion, a second, and any further discussion? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion carries.
I did have one question, but it wasn't germane to the vote.
Okay,
So,
just say, the motion carries and the OPVHs that were identified have been, their new applications have been approved. Okay.
So, question, these are people who've applied for Lift Black?
No, sir. We're not seeing them come in as,
Okay,
yeah, I
you're
think
just
we
letting
may
us
have
know.
had one or two, we've had two that have come into the office that are Lyft. So and we can identify, and a lot of them do drive for both. So if the commission would like for us to identify who they're registering as, we'll be happy to do that.
Just thinking ahead, if they're already Uber Black approved, then the Lift Black should be.
I don't think we're going to see an influx of a bunch of different things coming before you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Rooker, the next agenda item is a request to modify ownership.
Yes, sir. Entertainment Transportation Company Big Green Tractor Tours LLC is adding a partner, Roxanne Morgan. Anytime that the original application is modified or changed, or there's a request to do so, it has to come before the commission for approval. All the paperwork is in order, and staff would recommend approval.
Any questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman, we've got a hand raised.
Yes. We're-
We did sign up on the sheet that was out there.
they walked in late.
We're already past it. I'm sorry. We'll see if we've got time at the end. Unless it's... All right. Which agenda item were you wanting to speak about?
In regards to Uber Black.
We don't have an Uber Black agenda item on today.
There is some licensing of
All right, we have was the motion, let's see, I'm getting distracted. All right, we had a request to modify ownership. Did we just address the Big Green Tractor, or did we also?
No, we haven't. The Big Green Tractor is all we've done so far.
Okay. And,
move to approve.
okay, is there a second?
Second.
Any comment? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Mr. Rooker, then we're on to the OPVH Company Limitless Limos, adding partner Michael Gomez.
Yes, sir. They're just, once again, changing their original application, has to come before the commission. All their paperwork is in order. Staff recommends approval.
Is there a motion?
Move to approve the change in ownership for Limitless Limos, adding partner Michael Gomez.
Second.
Any discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, next matter on our agenda, Mr. Rooker, is Breedlove Transportation new car application that was deferred from November of 2024.
Yes, sir.
Can you give us a little update and also maybe tell us about some things that have transpired since yesterday afternoon and this morning?
Yes, sir. As if you remember, the commission continued this because we had an individual who was objecting to this company being formed. We received paperwork yesterday, late yesterday afternoon, that I believe we got to you yesterday. As of today, when I got here, Mr. Breedlove handed me a lot of information also just here. That's why you do not have it in your packet. There was no way to get it to you. I know you haven't had time to review it or look at it or read it or do anything. So I think we'll just let the commission decide whether we want to move forward today or take other action.
All right, now I'm shuffling paper, but let me see if I can get to a couple of things we're talking about. I'm holding up a stack that looks like, I don't know what, 20 pages, 10, 15 pages, and that has a picture of CMA on the front of it. Looks like a text message. Is that the one that came in yesterday?
Yes, sir. That's what we received yesterday afternoon. Is probably about 3:30, 3:45 from when we received it.
All right. And I'm holding up another stack that may be closer to 35, 40 pages.
Yes, sir. That's what was given to me 10 minutes before the commission meeting began today.
And I'm the only one with a copy of it right now.
Yes, sir, you are.
You don't even have a copy.
No, sir, I do not.
And have you or Mr. Sheffer reviewed any of this?
No, sir, we have not.
Okay. And who did this come from?
That's coming from Mr. Breedlove.
And Mr. King, you provided these items, this other group of materials yesterday?
Yes, sir.
All right. Mr. King, Ms. Breedlove, would you come up to the table, both, please? Take your respective seats, please. Mr. King, since you were first to submit paperwork, are you wanting us to consider this? Are you wanting the commission to consider this paperwork?
Yes, sir.
And is this in support of your position that we should deny Mr. Breedlove's application for a permit?
Yes, sir.
All right. And Mr. Breedlove, and is that your last name?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Breedlove, there's a thick stack of paper here today. You presented that to
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Rooker earlier today?
The first page is my response to last month's meeting.
Okay.
And it outlines what's in the stack of paperwork that I provided you.
Okay. And so what your summary at the beginning and then the supporting documents behind it, are you wanting us to consider that?
Yes, sir.
In support of your application and in response to
Yes, sir.
Mr. King's position that you should not be given a permit?
Yes, sir.
It's a little hard for me to really analyze this while we're hearing people talk today.
I understand that, sir. This was that his paperwork was provided to me at 4:45 yesterday evening.
And the rest of the commissioners do not even have a copy of, Mr. Breedlove, your response and your supporting documents. I hope you can appreciate that we would need to make copies and disseminate this material in order to properly read it in consideration of your position today.
I understand that, sir.
Okay. I think I'm not going to speak for the whole commission, but I'm going to speak for myself right now. My thought is that we have two choices. We could defer this matter to January and have all the materials disseminated to everybody so that we could properly read them and prepare for a oral testimony that would be given. Or we could take the testimony today, not knowing exactly what is said in these documents, and then defer our decision after having had an opportunity to read the supporting documents. I prefer, being how there may be questions I might want to ask of Mr. King or Mr. Breedlove from their supporting documents, I would prefer to have an opportunity to read the material that's been late submitted. I'll put it that way. No offense to either one of you, because everybody's kind of, I understand both of you are probably new at this, but Mr. King, you were aware that I remember specifically saying we needed your materials
Yes, sir.
as soon as possible if you wanted us to consider them today, and that was a month ago. So,
Yeah, I
This is hard.
apologized for getting it late to y'all. The last 3 weeks have been very difficult.
and that
So-
puts Mr. Breedlove in.
It hurts me financially. I've been postponing would put me back another month before I will be able to legally be able to do private clients, legally be able to do Uber Black. I'm currently only able to do Uber XL because I don't have city permits.
For Uber Black.
Yeah, I can't do Uber Black without my city permits.
All right. I'm going to see what the other commissioners' feelings are and thoughts are about this. Folks?
Mr. Chairman, I might, just thinking about what, in fairness, he's expressed concern about another delay of a month. And both of the options you put forth, there'd be a delay till next month. I would be curious if he would rather us go ahead and move forward today without consideration of his late filed materials. If he'd feel comfortable with that and leave it to the applicant as to whether he would like to proceed with maybe giving some testimony without us considering his late filed materials, if he'd prefer that versus the month delay.
I think we'd also be in a spot where we'd have to not consider Mr. King's materials.
That would seem to be fair since they were submitted so without 24 hours within the time of our meeting today. Would seem to be that be fair would be to consider neither of them if the preference would be to move forward today with a decision.
It's open for thoughts, comments.
I have a comment. My purpose being in front of this board is to operate my business legally and to have my permits. I don't desire to operate an illegal business. I wouldn't waste my time, my energy, if I wanted to operate an illegal business. That's why I'm here. This boils down to basically a dispute. I'm sorry.
I don't want to get into the merits of the dispute until you're put under oath, okay?
Okay. Yes, sir.
And if I just have one quick thing there, the evidence that I presented to y'all clearly states that.
Hold on. I don't want to get into the merits of your evidence or anything like that until you're under oath, okay? The question for both of you really is, do you want to go forward with just your testimony today and strike the materials that you've submitted?
I'm okay with it.
I think that's our dilemma. I understand the time issue of delaying it a month. We can deliberate this today, but it's going to be likely with whatever information you can share with us today that may or may not be already included in these documents. And so if there's information that's unable to be shared verbally, then we'll be making decisions perhaps on limited information. But that would apply to both of you. So if you're comfortable with that, one option is for us to just hear that today, but you've prepared such a large amount of information that I doubt you're going to be able to share 20, 30 pages worth of information in an oral testimony.
And the other thing to consider is you two can both take a swearing contest against each other, but ultimately we would be looking for corroboration of the testimony if we have to make a determination of credibility.
And everything that I provided is total facts, so.
I'm fine with moving forward today on oral testimony.
Mr. King?
Yeah, I'm okay with it. It's up to y'all.
Well, then if they both agree. If they both agree, then I say we go through it today.
All right. What's the rest of the commission's? Ms. Rooker, you had
Chair,
something?
would you like for me to get that material from you so that I have it and put it in the packet?
I guess what I'd like to do is take this material and make it part of today's record.
Yes, sir.
But typically I would say put it under seal because we're not considering it, but make it part of the record in case there's an appeal anywhere. But Metro Legal, I know what we had discussed months ago was that we wanted to start having real hearings with evidence and proof, and not just one person saying another thing, another person saying another thing, or anecdotal evidence. We have a package of evidence here that we're not going to consider because it's late filed to use or late submitted.
Yeah, I think we were just discussing, I think the question is, if you have evidence that you're not going to consider, yet you are going to have oral testimony, is that sufficient to make a decision as a commission? And if you're not going to consider that evidence that you have, I don't know that it should be part of your record because it isn't part of your decision or your consideration. I think think the safest bet is probably to defer for a month, give everybody a chance to look at everything. However, you do have an applicant here who has, both of them, an applicant and another man, who have said they are fine moving forward. And I understand the applicant's concerns about a month of income.
It's essentially waiving his right for you to consider the evidence.
You're right, and we should not make it part of the record. We should just give it back to Mr. Rooker or give it back to the parties. Yeah, give it back to the parties. I guess we could go ahead and take their testimony, and if we decide that we can't make a decision based upon the testimony alone and would like to consider the evidence, we could then change our mind. Or then we could defer it for a month.
Did Mr. Breedlove get a copy of Mr. King's packet?
I got a copy of Mr. King's packet at 4:45 yesterday evening. I did not even receive a notice to be here. I happened to have watched the meeting last week. So I worked all night on putting this together for the commission. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I have one other question that I need to ask the commissioners. Has anybody read the materials that were sent out from Mr. King?
I have.
Going to the left?
Thumb through it.
Thumb through it? Thumb through it. So, Mr. Breedlove, I do want you to be aware of the fact that the commissioners have reviewed Mr. King's materials, some cursory, some more thoroughly.
I mean, I understand that. It seems very unfair to me that, I mean, I was given his documentation at 4:45 in the evening, and the commission had a chance to look through his documents, but won't have a chance to look through mine.
You're exactly right. That is unfair.
And it feels like that is, in a way, part of the ultimate plan, which delays me further and financially harms me, which is part of what I've laid out in the evidence. Really, the most important.
Hold on. I don't want to get into merit to it. I do hear what you're saying, that it's unfair at the time.
It is. I would just, what I was going to say was I would hope that at least the first page that has my response on it, that the board could take an opportunity to read.
Well, I was thinking you could either read it or you could testify to what your response is.
Well, if I can read and testify to that, the other stuff is just support. It's just supporting in that mind, and it will at that point be basically my word against his word if his documents are not being considered. So I would like to be able to read my response out loud to the board, because I feel that encapsulates what everything that I've included, the documentation that I've included.
Okay.
And it pretty much lays out my history with Mr. King, the order of events, and what is
Can you
going
hold
to
on a second?
transpire.
We just need to make a decision how we're going to proceed here, okay?
Chair,
Yes.
if I may offer another suggestion, the
Yeah.
commission could break for however long you need to review the documents. So
No.
since okay.
Not today.
Okay.
No.
Just another option.
People have agendas today, and I appreciate that suggestion, but no.
Okay. That was all.
Well, I shouldn't say that.
I have an agenda today.
Okay.
There's only one copy.
And that's another. We only have one copy because it was just handed today. So.
Mr. King, was there any intention in submitting these 4:45 on the day before the meeting?
I submitted them at around 2:00 yesterday. I know it was still late, and I didn't. The date just come up on me so fast, and I've been down one vehicle, and it's just been difficult. So I tried to do the best I could to get it to the board as quickly, even though I know it was late getting to y'all, and I
You
apologize
understand the
for
pickle
that.
it kind of puts us in
I
here?
understand that too. Yes, ma'am.
And Chair, just for the record, Mr. Breedlove was sent notice on December the 3rd. We have it in the file.
I did not
And I don't know why. I can't answer why he did not receive it, but we had the address. I spoke with him yesterday. We had the correct address, correct apartment number, and it was mailed on December the 3rd.
What was mailed?
The notice for him to be here
Yeah,
today.
yeah,
Yes,
the
sir.
notice to be here,
Yes, sir.
but not the material
No,
that
no,
Mr.
sir.
King
No, sir.
submitted.
No, sir.
Okay.
We just received that material yesterday and tried to get a hold of Mr. King to come to the office to pick it up so he would have it for today.
And I can understand Mr. Breedlove wasn't aware of the claims and the factual basis for the claims until he received the packet yesterday. So. All right. What do you want to do, folks? Because I don't get the vote, so.
What's the process for a deliberation? Is it timed or is it just?
We first take the testimony and and any evidence that the witnesses want to present, and then there's deliberations by the commissioners, and then a decision, typically at the same time that it's being heard. But it has on occasion been deferred for further consideration or taking of further evidence or further review or things of that nature.
Okay, thank you.
And Metro Legal, you would be okay with us proceeding this way?
I think it's safest to defer because then you all have the opportunity to review everything. And I know that he's essentially waived his right, but you do have documents in front of you. It's kind of, there's no great answer.
So I'll just say that I'm certainly willing to listen to testimony today. I mean, the parties are here and we can do that. But I will also say that I'm generally feeling very reluctant to act on simple oral testimony between two individuals without corroboration of the facts.
Is it possible for us to hear testimony today and then make a decision at the next meeting?
Yes, that's possible. You could hear testimony today and consider the records. And I think you would need to discuss the records at the next meeting to put them into the record. But I think you could make your decision the next meeting.
And you could also call the witnesses back for the second meeting in case you do have follow-up questions about the documents.
But either way, a decision wouldn't be made till January on the application.
And
I
it's-
imagine that's problematic because it's the holiday season.
That's
and
what I was
probably
just
a lot
gonna
of
say,
Black
yeah.
opportunities.
Yeah, it does. It does.
I think there's one thing that I will add is if you divide it up, though, there might be a memory issue, like today what they testify about. I mean, you could watch it later, but will you remember what is said by the next meeting? I will just include it.
And there's also the issue of you all having reviewed at some level Mr. King's documents.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, is that your name, sir? Yes. Mr. King. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm going to refer to you by the right name, and not Mr. Breedlove's.
And I also prefer for the witnesses to identify the documents as they're testifying and introduce them to us so that they become part of the record with some authentication.
I think the safest course is for you to defer, gather all the documents, then be distributed, and then at the next meeting, have the hearing with testimony so you can ask questions and, as Chair McNally just explained, have them introduced, authenticated, et cetera.
Sir, I have a comment. Could I get a temporary operational permit pending approval for the hearing, and once you've disseminated the information and a decision has been made and you've taken your oral testimony?
No, the problem with that is once we, whether temporarily, provincially, whatever, grant you a permit, then it becomes a different burden for taking back the permit. So, no, I wish we could do that. You did say you are operating, but not as Black.
On Uber XL. I'm not operating on Uber Black. I cannot operate on Uber Black because I do not have city permits. Right. And that's 99% of what my business would be. I've spent well in excess of $100,000 on my business between my vehicle, my loss of time now being delayed now a second month with being able to work. So it's a heavy financial burden to me. My average when I was working with Mr. King, because I was a former 1099 contract to him, was about $12,000 a month in gross revenue, and that's huge. That's a huge loss for me. That's the difference in me being able to pay my mortgage and feed myself. And it's a big deal. I'm simply in front of you guys because I want to be legal. I don't want to be illegal. I want my permit. I want, that's what it boils down to. And anything besides that is just personal between me and him and should be handled in court. Because the real question here is, should I get my permit? Not what has transpired between me and Mr. King.
Thank you, Ms. Breedlove.
And I just may, if I may.
Hold on, we got to make a decision here first.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm going to make a motion, then we can discuss it. How's that? I move that we defer to the next meeting so we can look at all of this. I think that's necessary and appropriate.
All right, is there a second to the motion so we can put it on the table for discussion?
Second, let's discuss.
All right.
I would make one point is what Uber does or does not do is not our concern, quite frankly. I mean, there's nothing, we didn't make their rules. We're only responsible for what we are supposed to do or have legal authority to do.
I'll make a comment that I'm not happy about deferring. I don't think I don't like that the documents were submitted so late yesterday, but I agree that it's the right thing to do.
We probably are faced with making a quick decision or a good decision. And so what's more important?
I mean, around the holidays, a quick decision would be important to Mr. Breedlove, but for the commission.
That's only if it's favorable.
Correct.
That's assuming that it goes that way.
That's right.
A quick decision could go the other way.
Could go the other way
and
as
it could
well.
be an unmerited
Right.
decision.
And get appealed and take even longer. So, yeah, in the interest of good faith of this commission, I would defer reluctantly.
For those who have looked at Mr. King's submission, did it raise any concerns for public safety? Or were they personal disputes or business disputes between the two parties?
I didn't see anything for public safety.
Mr. Rooker, if you have any input on that, that'd be helpful too.
It appears to be more personal than safety. I didn't review anything that would make me think that there was a safety issue at all. I think it's a business dispute, a personal dispute, more so than anything safety. I don't think there's any safety concerns at all.
So I wonder if it would be good to remind us what our responsibility is in terms of approving an OPVH.
Public convenience and necessity, and of course protection of the public to make sure that people who are issued permits for OPVHs are going to take care of the public.
That's correct.
Unless anybody's...
Thank you.
And one of the things I remember from last month is that there was also an allegation of operation without a license, which is what I assumed was what the purpose of this was, to show operation without a license, which is something we have been trying to crack down on the taxi front. And I know this is a different situation, and
yes.
But that was one thing that I asked for him to bring with him when he came back, and we honestly considered other materials at some other meetings on different matters in the immediate sense that were brought to our thing. So I would defer to the preference of the applicant if he would be willing to live with whatever the outcome was. But I'm at the will of the commission. The most prudent thing to do to get the application would probably be to wait till January. But I understand $12,000 is a significant amount. It's a big deal, and so I'd defer to his choice on how risky he wanted to be.
All right, this is non-traditional, probably unconventional, and this is probably a question for you too. Is there a possibility to hear oral testimony today, decide if we want to grant a temporary permit, and then maybe come back in January to fully evaluate?
I don't think there's authority for a temporary permit.
Okay.
One other question, this is a practical question. Is there the ability to operate under a lift black situation until we meet? Okay, just making sure that wasn't another avenue of...
No, ma'am. Lyft requires city permits now for Lyft.
That's already in effect.
For Lyft. Yes, sir.
I know you mentioned that.
You could, the only other thing that I think, you could have a special called meeting next week. I know y'all don't want to do that, so it's just, I'm just throwing that on the table. But no, I know you don't want to do that.
Not as
But
popular as Ms. Harbour said.
yeah, exactly.
All right. To address about the temporary, we can grant a permit and put someone on probation for a period of time, but we cannot grant a temporary permit.
What's the difference?
If the permit's been granted, then the person does have a, what's the word I'm looking for there? They have a right or they have a possessory interest, but they're on probation and they have to meet certain conditions. And if they don't meet those conditions, then the permit can be withdrawn. To grant a temporary permit, well, it's just something that's not authorized. And I'm not even sure what it necessarily means in terms of, it just means it's temporary until we either make it permanent or withdraw it altogether.
So functionally, a probation would serve as a temporary permit?
Not really, because it actually is a permit granted with certain conditions that have to be met in order to maintain it.
Okay.
And in some situations, what we've done is we granted it with the supervision of the owner. For instance, in record companies, where we frequently have applicants who have had somewhat of a checkered past, and the owner wants to give them a second chance, and we will grant it, and the owner will say, I will make sure they're taking drug tests every 2 weeks or every month, or I will watch their conduct, and if I see any variance, I will report it back to you, and then we can, sort of like a probation violation, we can then revoke it. So.
Okay, thank you.
Does that pretty much explain? Okay. So, any other thoughts, comments, and before we take the motion up for a vote? It's a tough one. It's a really tough one.
I hope you sensed from the commission that we're trying to be as fair and equitable to both of you as possible. Recognize that you both have timely concerns, but it puts us in a difficult position to try to figure out how to be effective and efficient at the same time.
And I will state, it's not this commission's fault that we're getting this material at the last minute. I'm inclined, if I had some way of striking your materials, to strike them and let go forward. But
I feel like that would be the more fair.
But I can't strike them from people's memories who have already seen them. And it's also not fair to you because he's going to be testifying to them, so.
Especially, I would like to see the 45 pages that he has too, but I'm.
Don't push your luck today, please.
I know, I understand. I'm not trying to. I'm just trying to make the playing field.
I mean, alternatively, we could strike Mr. King's complaint and just grant the application was in order, right?
Yes, sir. Your application's in order. Everything's good to go. We just deferred it based upon the testimony.
To bring Mr. Breedlove in.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Anyway, there's a motion on the table. There's been a second. There's been significant discussion. Is there any further discussion?
The only reason for not granting it is because we had Mr. King wanting to provide testimony that says we should not grant it.
Yes, sir. Last month, and the commission was very clear to tell him to get the materials to us. He got them to us yesterday at 2:30, and we got them to Mr. Breedlove at about 5 till 4 because he rushed down there to get them when we finally got in contact with him.
Okay. That matters.
Anything else? Yep. Yep. Please.
Well, I'll just say that last month, my personal biggest concern, and from what I heard, was that there was operations without a license, and Mr. Breedlove is here to get a license. So I have a feeling somebody may continue to operate without a license for $12,000 in the interim, or figure out some other way around here. So I appreciate him trying to get correct with his licensing.
Yes, ma'am.
And in response earlier to an inquiry about whether there was a way of operating, you do have Uber Excel that you're operating.
I have Uber Excel, but
yes or no?
The variant in price for an Uber Excel versus an Uber Black, it's vastly.
I understand there's a vast difference in the income generated, but you do have Excel to operate, and you can operate as Uber.
And actually, now that I don't even know I'm gonna be able to do that because I'm gonna only have one account, and now that I've moved to a commercial account, my personal account is closed on Uber. So the anticipation that I was going to be granted, my permits because I'm here before you trying to do everything legally. I really don't have much income opportunity. I've already, like I expressed to you, we're now on 2 months of car payments. I've dug into my savings, and we're going into Christmas, and it puts me in a very tough situation. I understand it puts the board in a very tough situation when I've not had it. Mr. Roker, has there been any complaints to you in reference? Me and you have never had any conversation prior to the other day.
We're not going to be taking questions or evidence right now, okay? All right. There's a motion on the table, second, and I'm back to, again, any further discussion.
I'd just like to ask Mr. Breedlove, have you been operating legally?
Yes, I have been operating legally. I have been doing
Illegally.
Uber XL illegally.
Have you been operating illegally?
I
No,
need to put him
no,
on
ma'am.
first. If you're
Okay.
gonna do it. All right.
There is a motion.
All those in favor of the motion, which, as I understand it, is to defer, Mr. Rogers made a motion to defer the matter to the January meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
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 Okay. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 noes and 1 aye, hey? So the motion does not carry.
I make a motion with the consent of the applicant that we move forward with considering his application today.
Second.
Yes, ma'am. I would consent to that.
All right, let me make sure we're very, very clear before we take a vote on this motion. Mr. Breedlove, I'm going to put you, hold on a second. Mr. Breedlove and Mr. King, do you swear or affirm that testimony that you might give here in a moment is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God?
Yes, sir, I do.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Breedlove, the answer to my next question, do you swear or affirm that it is the truth?
Yes, sir.
All right. You understand that by going forward, you are acquiescing or agreeing for us not to consider the documents that you submitted today?
Without consideration for Mr. King's documents?
No?
Man,
I can't not, I need to get back to my question, but I cannot say that that no one here will be considering Mr. King's documents because some of the commissioners have seen them.
Yes, sir. I've had a chance to look at Mr. King's documents.
And so have some of the commissioners. So I can't say that the commissioners will not be in one way or another either consciously or subconsciously considering his documents. So the question to you today, are you acquiescing and agreeing to go
Yes, sir.
forward without consideration of your documents?
Yes, sir.
Have I correctly stated? Okay. That's a condition of the motion. And there was a second?
I'll second it.
All right, all in favor of going forward today, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Since, Mr. King, you basically threw the first spear in this matter, why don't you go ahead and start with your testimony?
Yes, sir. And I'll just, Mr. Breelove just addressed y'all and said that he has not been operating illegally. But again, the clear evidence that I presented to you was straightforward, that you can clearly see that he was operating illegally. And that is my concern with the city, is his disregard for character. And it truly is, I feel like, some way a public safety thing, because if he just proves that he's just going to lie and lie and lie, he shouldn't be operating and advertising to transport people's organs and whatnot. So,
Mr. King, could you articulate very succinctly what your allegation is about Mr. Breedlove operating illegally? What is the basis of your claim?
he was doing private rides out of the airport. And I submitted the documents to the airport, and Mr. Breelove has been suspended from the airport for operating illegally out of the limo lane. I have photos of his truck, his tag, in the limo area where he cannot state that he is doing Uber, because the Uber area and the limo lane are two different parts of the airport. And that is just clear evidence right then and there that he is lying to y'all. And again, he's asked me to lie to government people, and it's just, I feel like that is some kind of a safety thing. And it's a public issue.
Okay. Would you please tell us succinctly when Mr. Breedlove has asked you to lie to government officials? Hold on, listen to my question. When he's asked you to lie to government officials, and what was the content of the supposed lie?
The supposed lie was the very first time I let him go. And he wanted me to lie and say that I was just downsizing my fleet, and I had fired him for misuse of the vehicle, damaging property, and he wanted me to lie so he could get his rent covered. And he wanted me to send an email to, I can't remember the exact thing with Nashville, but it helps cover rent. And I did not comply with that email.
When was it? When was this?
It was in, let's see.
August 6th.
Metro Housing.
Are you referring to the Facebook message, Mr. King?
I believe so, yes, ma'am.
It's on August 6th
Of what year?
of this, it looks like of this year.
And I'd asked the commissioner whether that was Metro Housing Authority, and I believe she answered me it was.
Metro Action
Council.
Council.
Okay.
And that is my biggest thing. I don't have any ill will with Mr. Breelove. This is more that after I fired him, I had the heart to bring him back. And I did. And then, again, he blatantly did not comply with what I requested, so I let him go in. And then after that, the ad stealing happened. Tried to confront him on that. And now he has slandered me to multiple limo companies. So he is now trying to affect my income. And I just see it as just a clear evidence of him just blatantly have no regard. He is trying to get his permit, but he just blatantly lied to you when you asked him, has he been operating illegally? So, I mean, I can keep testimony or testifying, but I've even presented more emails after yesterday from where Mr. Breedlove has went to my personal pages and has slandered me there, even under his own name. So,
I've got a clarifying question on the first allegation. You mentioned that he was operating in the limo lane at the airport.
yes, sir.
Are you required to have a Uber XL approved license from this commission to operate in the limo lane?
Yes, you have to have a permit with B&A. If you get caught with commercial tags on the property, they trespass you.
But is that a violation of the limo requirements? Or?
That's the violation of the city and the airport.
Okay, but that could be a violation, but that may not be a violation that's under our purview.
But I'm not totally sure there because I know the airport works with the commission. So when I presented that to the airport, they suspended him to the airport. So if he gets caught there, they can arrest him.
I understand it, and I'm not even acknowledging whether it's valid or not. I'm just acknowledging that it's an allegation because I think there could be a distinction between doing that and pretending to have a XL license and not having it. And
I mean, Uber XL, they have their own, they have their own totally different area to pick up at. So when you're getting
doing that isn't a violation of
no, not doing Uber XL, but
okay.
you have the other spot. This was in the limo lane.
Okay.
They actually have technology there now that can detect if you're on Uber.
Mm-hmm.
And when he worked for me, he already knew the rules to that.
Okay.
So it was more of the he said, she said, but when I got the photos, I submitted it to the airport, and they suspended him for operating without the permit illegally.
Okay. So whatever decision that we make regarding this isn't going to impact that at all.
He won't be able to still pick up out of the limo lane.
Correct.
May I comment?
Sure.
That's incorrect. I've received no notice from the airport.
Wait, I want to make sure Mr. King's done first before we move to the next witness. Okay. Mr. King, are you completed?
I believe so. I was just trying to state and prove the side that he's not even being honest with y'all right now. So everything that I presented was, there's no opinions. It's just all factual stuff there. And I don't know exactly what he has to say about it, but
We're going to hear in just a minute, so thank you,
clear
sir.
fact that, and if he says he was doing Uber there, that's just a total lie. So,
Are we able to ask questions about things inside Mr. King's package?
Yeah, we can.
Mr. King, you have a page in here from July 12th. It's a screenshot of a Facebook page about baseball cards.
yes, ma'am.
Can you explain to me how that's relevant to what is happening here?
That was applied to just the character. It was more of a character thing that's representation of the city. Like how you carry yourself and how black car drivers should carry themselves.
Is this comment supposed to be from Mr. Breedlove?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. And I see two different companies. There's Driven Transportation, and then there's also Breedlove Transportation.
Yes, ma'am. If you look real closely, something like it might be harder to catch, but if you go through and you look at all the advertisements, there's 5 different companies that Mr. Breedlove has been advertising under. Between like Breelove Transport, Breelove Transportation, Breelove Transportation LLC, Driven Transportation. He has multiple company names there that he advertises under.
And and you're saying that all of these companies were operating illegally? Or
No, it's
only some of them?
it's under one page, but he has it advertised as different company names on different ads. That's what I'm saying. Like, there's evidence there that he operated under 5 different company names.
And it looks like a lot of your complaint is that he copied and pasted your ad
That
copy.
too. And he also was advertising that he was fully legally. All his drivers were background checked, permitted, insured. And at that time, again, that statement was a lie.
Thank you.
Mr. Breedlove, you wanted to respond?
Yes, sir. First off, if you look at that page where he's got a picture of my vehicle, it has no date, no time, no location. There's a picture of some luggage in a car was taken down in the Uber pickup area. I have not received a single thing from the airport. They've not been in contact with me. I've not been suspended from the airport. So that's false. I would like to read my statement.
Can I
into
ask
the
you a
record.
question? It was explained to me, I'm just using this hypothetically. Would it be a violation of the airport authorities' pickup rules, regulations, policies for what Mr. King described here a moment?
To pick up in the limo line, they only just recently opened a new limo area at the airport. All pickups were in the main parking deck down below. In fact, that's still where Uber Black's pick up. And it's which is immediately when you come into the airport, it's the bottom of the parking deck off to the.
When you exit the airport, you take a right, and then you go down, and it's over.
Yeah,
underneath
you
the
go
parking
around, you
deck.
go into the parking deck down at the bottom, and then back behind that is the limo pickup area.
So, as of at least today, it would be a violation.
I assume so, probably would be.
And the photos, I couldn't send y'all the video of it, but I have the whole video of the truck in the parking lot at the airport. So, again, I could have put the date and the time on it too, but if you contact the guy that's in operations at the airport, he will confirm that tag number is suspended at the airport.
I think part of my concern.
If you would also confirm that his tag is suspended at the airport because he's tampered with his RFDI.
I have.
See, I don't know that from my perspective if any of that matters for what our charge is today. As far as airport requirements and limo requirements.
I'm just presenting to y'all that he's been operating illegally.
Okay.
That he's lying to.
And if we were the airport authority, we might have some position on that. Speaking for
And
myself.
for the record, I have not been suspended at the airport.
But you wouldn't consider an illegal operation at the airport something that we should consider as a factor in granting a permit or not?
Well, it depends on what our requirements are for granting a permit. What I heard from Mr. Rooker was his application and everything was in good order.
Well, we still have to make sure, though, that the driver is law-abiding and
Okay.
and complying with the rules. I don't know what weight to give to it, but I would consider it maybe a factor to look at. But Ms. Breedlove says that he is not suspended and has not been violating illegally at the airport, or improperly or illegally at the airport. Is that true?
That's true. I've received no contact from the airport.
All right. You've received no contact. Have you violated any of the rules at the airport?
No, not that I'm aware of.
And I can also testify if we do need to push this meeting off, that I could bring multiple fleet drivers here that can testify that he has been on the premises picking up rides at the airport.
When you say on the premises, okay, so you're saying he's doing that even in the suspended
You're not even
status?
supposed to technically operate out of the airport with commercial tags,
Okay.
regardless if you're doing Uber XL. If you have a commercial tag, there's not the TLC, but the airport states that you must have the permit with commercial insurance, commercial
The
tags.
airport states that you can only do a certain number of trips per month. Uber allows you to have commercial tags for Uber XL, Uber X, etc.
Correct. But the airport's requirements is if you have commercial tags and you're operating, picking up out of the airport more than 2 or 3 times a month, that you're supposed to have the permits with the airport.
I almost need somebody from the airport authority
Right.
here.
I can give you his contact info.
Chair, we do have communication, TD and I do have communications with the airport and the people that are in charge of all this stuff. They're actually revamping everything at the airport. The way they move people in and out, the way the vehicles are coming in and out, the way the cabs come in and out. They're going to be on a like, they'll get some buzz on their phone. They're not even allowed to sit on the property. That's not here yet, but that's on the way. So I'm just saying that there is a lot of change going on at the airport with how people are being moved in and out.
There's a lot of changing rules that are actively changing at the airport right now.
Mr. Rooker, is what Mr. King is saying, what Mr. Breedlove is saying, making sense to you about
If he was in the wrong,
what could be a violation, what might not be?
yes, sir, it does. I mean, if he's in the wrong, if he's in a limo lane, he's not in a limo or a limo type of vehicle, what qualifies as a limo, and he's in there as a lift, whatever.
Or a black XL.
Right, then that would be an issue between he and the airport, which I think is the dispute right now going on. We would know, and if he was in an Uber Black and operating, he would have to go to the area where Uber Black is assigned to go. He would not be allowed to go in a limo lane. Was that an accident, a mistake? I mean, I don't know. Who knows? But if he was a Lyft driver, they have a certain place to go also. They all have a different place to stage from. So,
Is there a distinction in the vehicle type between what's considered limo and Uber Black?
yes, sir, I would say so. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I mean, I know the traditional
limos, yes, but I would say there's a difference in operating as a limo and as a Uber Black. I can say that.
Is that a difference in terms of our licensure?
I don't think so.
No, in terms of our licensure, it's the same.
Right. That is correct.
That's what I thought.
But if he's operating as a Lyft driver, we don't have any authority over Lyft drivers.
So the airport might distinguish between a limo and an Uber Black in terms of staging.
That is
but
correct.
from a licensure perspective for this commission, those two things are the same.
Yes, that is correct.
Thank you.
And you also, if you do operate Uber Black out of the airport, you're also supposed to have the permit, regardless if you pick up at the limo lane or if you pick up at the Uber pickup area.
Mr. Breedlove, you asked about being able to read your letter into the record. You certainly can do that.
All right. So, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the Nashville Metropolitan Transportation Board. My name is Dane Breedlove. I am the owner of the proposed Breedlove Transportation and a proud member of the National Limo Association. I'd like to take a few minutes to clarify a few things regarding to Mr. King and King's Transportation and define my relationship with Mr. King. I'll start with some background information. I was a contractor for Mr. King for a year and a half. I was a 1099 contractor working with King's Transportation. Mr. King was aware when he entered into business with me that I was a company-driven transportation. Mr. King was leasing me his GMC Yukon with sublease of his permits, tags, and insurance. I was not an employee of Mr. King's. I found out later that subleasing of permits is against national ordinance and law. When I confronted him about this, I was told not to worry about it, that it was okay and insurance would cover me, which we both know is false. In fact, Mr. King continues this behavior with one of his other 1099 employees, Matthew Ramsey, who runs an unregistered, unpermitted tour group using Mr. King's vehicles and permits. This was but one reason that I chose to discontinue my relationship with Mr. King. Other reasons are as follows. I witnessed on numerous occasions Mr. King transporting clients to pick up illegal drugs, doing illegal drugs with his clients, mainly marijuana. He liked to store the illicit substances under the hood of his vehicle next to his battery. In fact, he showed me in person where he hides it once. Mr. King asked me to use my own personal vehicle to operate under his city permits when his vehicle broke down. Mr. King failed to provide me a 1099 and an accounting audit when I asked him. While working with Mr. King, I was discriminated against and had jokes made about my sexuality based on him. While working with Mr. King, I was constantly having to repair his vehicles out of my own pocket due to the fact that Mr. King did not have any funds. It came to my attention that Mr. King was permanently banned from the airport for tampering with his RFDI reader. I have firsthand knowledge that he continued to go to the airport with a disabled RFDI reader in his Suburban and his Yukon. I also know through conversations with him and his other drivers that he had not been charged airport or city tax fees in relation to his Suburban that Matt Ramsey, his other 1099 driver, drives for over a year. His poor financial management became more evident when I discovered that Mr. King had been withholding money for me for airport reimbursements that Uber had been paying him on my behalf, almost $3,000, as well as unpaid private contract rides done for Mr. King and unpaid customers and Uber gratuity. This leads me to where we are now. Mr. King still has my credit card attached to his parking account at Opry Mills, and I am being charged hundreds of dollars, and he refuses to remove it. I am currently in the process of suing Mr. King, and this has caused Mr. King to act irrationally and angrily towards me. He has made up false allegations that I am operating illegal businesses, which is incorrect. My business is commercially insured. Had I desired to be operating illegal business, I would not be passionately fighting to clear my name and receive my permits from the city. Mr. King has threatened me numerous times, and he has even gone as far as to damage my vehicle by dragging a key across it. Now Mr. King is providing to this board evidence that is contrived, faulty, slanderous, and proves nothing. His actions and accusations are an attempt to delay me getting my permits, to cause me financial harm. I feel that this is retaliation for seeking legal remedy to our situation. Yes, I have been working, but I have been working doing Uber XL because I am unable to service private clients or do Uber Black due to the delay with obtaining my permits. As you are aware, Uber XL does not require me to have city permits. Mr. King leads you to believe that I am running an illegal black car company. The pictures he provided to you of my vehicle does not have a date, location, or context. I will provide that context to you. Mr. King took a picture of my vehicle while I was doing an Uber XL ride and has concerned. And as far as Facebook and websites are concerned, I have not generated any work from them. Any Facebooks or posts, whether either were constructed when I was leasing from Mr. King with his permission, we shared advertising to clients, or in preparation for assuming I was getting my permits last month. Furthermore, when Mr. King asked me to remove them from Facebook, the Facebook page was immediately taken down. I ceased operation of moving private clients when I ended my agreement with Mr. King to lease his vehicles. At my request, due to wanting to start my own company and feeling uncomfortable with the way Mr. King was running his business and discovering that Mr. King had a pretty extensive felony record that included felony burglary and delinquency of a minor. I am asking you to please consider my application. I'm in front of you trying to do the right thing to operate my company legally in accordance with law. I'm a former military member and a citizen of the community and have had no contact or complaints with this board in the past. Provided to you are the names and phone numbers of multiple people who can vouch for my character and who are familiar with this situation in my dealings with Mr. King, and I provided a total of 10 contacts and character witnesses for the board at their discretion to contact.
Thank you, Mr. Breedlove. Mr. King, hold on one second. You're not, there's not been a complaint brought against you, even though there were several mentioned there, so you don't necessarily need to respond to anything. I would probably advise you to pause and think about it for a while first, okay?
Yes, sir.
Commissioners have any questions of Mr. Breedlove, please?
I have a question. In some of the materials that were provided from Mr. King, one was a advertisement, it looks like on Facebook, from Breedlove Transportation saying that you do organ transplant transportation. Is that of teams, not organs themselves? That's like, can you give us, do you have some sort of certification, or what is
There's no
the nature of that?
there's no certification for that. Occasionally, when I was with Mr. King, we would get trips to pick up at Signature, which is the private part of the airport, to pick up Vanderbilt transplant team to bring them back and forth to Vanderbilt. It was just transfer of doctors.
Okay, of the doctors that had the organs?
Yeah.
Okay, so they're the ones that were trained with that?
Yeah.
Okay, so just checking.
No, I had no contact with any organs.
Okay.
I can say again that we've never done one ride like that, so.
Could you explain to a layperson like me what an RFDI reader is?
RFDI is a radio frequency reader. At the airport, there are these gray boxes that read the cars when they come in. You have a sticker on your windshield, and it correlates that to a license plate reader. It makes sure that they match, and they match that to a database that Uber provides to them each month of the trips for people going in and out the airport. It's how the airport keeps track of their in and out of the airport to be able to assess their charges.
Thank you. And then, can you explain a little more about the subleasing the permit?
Yeah, I was a 1099 contractor for him. I rented his truck, which came with his insurance, his permits, and etc. So I was running a business underneath him. I was told that was legitimate and legal. When I found out, when reading through the ordinance, you cannot sublease permits. In order for me, and it proves further that I was a company underneath him, driven, because he refused, in the documents, if you had them, I would show you where the 1099 was submitted with my company's name on it to him. Had I been an actual employee, he would have provided me a W-2.
So do you already have a company called Breedlove Transportation?
Breedlove Transportation was formed at the very end of our relationship, me and his relationship, in preparation to get my permits. And if you look at the dates on the ads, they coincide with when my application was filed, and I had not done any work under Breedlove Transportation because I hadn't been able to get any. I haven't had my permits. If you look at the ads, you'll see there's no comment. There's no comments on them. There's no nothing.
So you were a 1099 contractor as a person for Mr. King, and then
my company,
and then you
driven transportation.
Please let her finish the question. Hold on, both of you.
I'm trying to establish, were you 1099 as you personally or as your company?
As my company.
Thank you.
And if I may say, the 1099, the driven transportation, I told Mr. Breedlove at the time, and you can see the photos of him with driven transportation. I specifically said that he cannot operate a company name under my company name. And come 1099 time, I had asked my CPA, even got the emails, that he specifically wanted his 1090 he wanted his driven transportation to be 1099 instead of his private, like social security number. And I asked my CPA, I said, can I do that legally? And he said, yeah, however he wants to claim his money, that's on him. And I can show you every time that I paid him, I paid Dane Breelove, not driven transportation. So,
I could also show you where he was paying me out of his personal account.
no, it was not. It was actually
To me. He refused to do a direct deposit to me. I asked him, and he wanted to operate through Venmo.
But the Venmo came out of my business account, and there again, I can document that too. So,
And I've also
Gentlemen,
got.
I don't think we're too interested in how you pay
I mean,
each
I
other.
get all that, but I'm just saying.
We're more interested in, I think,
A lot of this.
Hold on. We're more interested in the illegal operation and maybe even this allegation. I haven't heard anything about this allegation of making a false statement to Metro Action Council to protect your rent.
Well, I address that right now. His truck broke down. He didn't fire me. I was without a truck for weeks, and I was without money. So I went to Metro Action Council, and they needed something from him. And I do have an email from him to that effect. I've got pictures of his truck numerous times, like I said, when it would break down, and I would have to fix it because he didn't have money.
There again, this is not the question.
Hold on, Mr. King, 1 second. Mr. Breedlove, if in your packet you have something that substantiates your testimony, you can introduce that to us as individual pieces, but we're not prepared to review the whole packet today is the problem.
Great. Which pieces? Which pieces do you call in question? And I'll.
I don't know what your pieces of papers are, so it's up to you to decide what you want us to look at individually that might substantiate your position.
Might I say, if he can, his proof that he was at Uber, doing an Uber pickup at that time, it should be stated on his Uber account that day, and it should be right there on his app. The truck, the truck that he claims that the RFDI thing was damaged, that was his truck that he operated. The damages to the truck is all under his care. Again, I have video documentation of me the very first time I fired him because of the damages to my truck and him smoking in my truck. I mean, there again, I know that's not all on what's on this agenda, but most of everything that Mr. Breelove has presented to y'all has all been hearsay. Everything that I provided for y'all is actual facts.
Is there something in your documentation that shows suspension from the airport?
No, but I could have provided the video for y'all, but
I mean the actual suspension, not necessarily even just the violation, but
no, I mean, I wouldn't expect that, like, because I mean, it ain't the airport's job to email me the confirmation that he's been suspended. But I mean, I can even show you, I could email over the conversations that I've had between the airport and him since he reported me to the airport for a damaged that chip, but that truck was under his care for the last year and a half. So, and
That's incorrect. I was driving the Yukon. He was with reference to
Commissioner Westlake wanted to ask something.
Yeah, well, I don't really have a question. Maybe it's a question for the commission. I mean, I'm listening to all of this, and there may be business practice issues, and there may be a violation of airport policy, but I'm trying to keep us focused on what our job is, and that is whether or not Mr. Breedlove, has met the qualifications to have an OPVH license, and whether or not that's something that we need to grant based on his application and meeting those standards. That's kind of why I started at public safety in the beginning, right? I mean, if it's public necessity and convenience, and and some sense of public safety, which I think of in a driving perspective, frankly, for a public vehicle. I'd like us to stay focused on that. I
That's my main
appreciate
thing
people's
here.
concern, but I think I'm
All right.
My
getting ready to move on.
safety part is if he can sit here and lie to y'all,
yeah.
there's no telling what he can do out there under.
Yeah.
All right,
No supervision at all.
almost 2 o'clock now, and we've been at this for almost an hour on this matter right here. So I'm going to give each of you about another minute and subject to the commission needing any additional information, but you each have 1 more minute to sum it up. Mr. King, you're first.
Okay, so the facts are against Breedlove Transportation. You can see that he has not clearly and legally been operating with no regards to the rules of the city. He has sat here and lied in front of you under oath. And you can clearly see the photos and the facts. There's no hearsay here on my behalf. And with me holding his permit, now he is slandering my company, which is in good standing with the city. And it is unacceptable. And my biggest thing is it is about public safety. It is about how people get treated. I have a very good standing. You can even so much. I have a 4.99 Uber rating. He's 1.1 off from being kicked off of Uber Black altogether. So his practices did not represent my company, and that's why I let him go.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Breedlove, 1 minute.
I categorically deny that I've been operating illegally. He's provided no actual proof other than hearsay. I'm here in front of you trying to get my license because I want to be legal. And I've laid it all out to you what's going on between me and him. This is more of a business dispute between me and him due to failure to pay me correctly and the way he was running the business. It is a safety concern because if I didn't have any, if I didn't care about public safety, I wouldn't be up here trying to get a permit from you.
Thank you,
And
sir.
one thing to clear.
No.
I got you.
Yes.
Make a motion whenever it's appropriate.
Now it's a good time.
Okay. I move that we approve the OPVH application for Breedlove Transportation.
I'll second it.
All right, it's open for discussion now.
And just to reiterate, Mr. Rooker, it is NDOT's position to approve the application.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Staff recommends approval.
I'll say, my mic on, yeah, that I'm concerned about a precedent we could possibly set if we, every application that comes before us that has met the application requirement, if testimony from third parties prevent us or interfere with us making a decision based on the facts and the evidence that's been presented to us. And so I think we could get in trouble, even if that information is perhaps accurate, but if it's not part of our submission process, information that we can document and verify for ourselves, then we could get ourselves in a lot of trouble.
Another question for you, Mr. Rooker. Is it possible to issue a temporary permit?
No, ma'am. You cannot, there's no, you either grant a permit or you deny the permit. There is no temporary permit.
Is there a way
No,
to
I think what we
create
do
a
have
temporary
the opportunity to is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but if there are violations, there's a process to revoke a license.
permit? Right.
The commission always has the authority based upon evidence given to you to revoke or suspend or put somebody on probation, any permit that we issue.
The only thing I would add is that much like we look at background checks and things of that nature before issuing permits in any of these categories, whether it be wrecker, taxi cab, Uber Black, OPVHs, an applicant's fitness is something to be considered. And I'm pretty sure Mr. Rooker and the rest of the staff are careful about seeing that people, of screening them. So, and all right, any other thoughts, comments, questions? All right, there's a motion and a second on the table regarding approval of Mr. Breedlove's application for a permit. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, gentlemen, thank you for your time today. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
All right, is there any other business, Mr. Rooker, before we close the meeting?
We have another matter, Chair, that we'll need to.
Yeah, but I was going to say, is there any other business that needs to be for the public record
Oh, no, sir.
before we close the meeting?
No, sir.
Okay. All right, we'll be closing the meeting now. And I will read the notice.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.